Hello once again everybody, it's NerdGasm, a group of characters I haven't really looked at on the channel before. Ones I'm not too familiar with are the New Mutants. Back in the early 1980s, the X-Men, thanks to the highly compelling and thought-provoking work of its writer, Chris Claremont, had become one of the highest-selling titles in the comic book industry. Its characters and stories were some of the strongest you'd find across the entire medium. To take advantage of the X-Men's popularity, Marvel would begin publishing several spin-off X-Men titles, the first of which being the New Mutants. It centered around a diverse team of teenage students at Charles Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, ones who were inexperienced, finding their way, dealing with the trials and tribulations you would come to expect from a coming-of-age story such as this. The original lineup of New Mutants included Sam Guthrie, Cannonball, a boy from Kentucky who had the power to propel himself through the air and was nearly invulnerable when doing so. You had Roberto da Costa, Sunspot, a boy from Brazil who could use solar energy to give himself superhuman strength and fly. Amara Juliana Olivians Aquila, Magma, a young girl who was part of the Nova Roma or New Rome colony hidden deep within the Amazon rainforests, who could generate and manipulate lava. Ilyana Rasputin, Magic, the Russian-born younger sister of the X-Man Colossus, who could teleport through time and space using her powers of sorcery. Ronnie Sinclair, Wolfsbane, a girl from Scotland, could metamorphosize into a wolf or a werewolf-like creature, and Danielle or Danny Moonstar, codenamed Psyche and later Mirage, was a Cheyenne Native American girl who had empathic psi abilities that allowed her to communicate with the feelings of people and animals, establishing a connection between them, and could also create illusions from their thoughts and innermost fears. The New Mutants would be written by Chris Claremont all the way up until issue 54, and during that initial run, I think this series managed to defy a lot of expectations. One would assume it would just be a watered-down version of the X-Men, with smaller stakes and centering around less serious and mature themes than those discussed with their adult counterparts. But in actuality, the New Mutants comics had a lot of dark subject matter in them. They leaned heavily into the genres of science fiction and fantasy, and occasionally even delved into the realms of horror and the supernatural. The most highly regarded storyline in New Mutants history would have to be the incredibly disturbing Demon Bear Saga from 1984. It spanned issues number 18 to 20 of New Mutants Volume 1, and starting with issue 18, you can sense a huge shift in tone with the storytelling. Issue 18 marked the debut of Bill Sienkiewicz as an artist for the series, a position he would hold on to until issue 31 in late 1985. Sienkiewicz's unique style that made use of oil painting, photorealism, and collages was like nothing else in the industry at the time, and was very unorthodox for North American comic books, but this made the New Mutants stand out, and in regards to the Demon Bear Saga specifically, it's definitely one of the more visually remarkable and unforgettable comics I have ever read. The only other one I can think of that got under my skin in a similar way with its visuals was Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth by Dave McKean, which I have also reviewed on the channel if you would like to check that video out. But let's not waste any more time and get into the story of this, the Demon Bear Saga. Leading up to the events of issue 18, Danny Moonstar had built a very strong friendship and bond with fellow New Mutant member Ronnie Sinclair. Their bond was so strong that when Ronnie was in wolf or werewolf form, she could communicate with Danny psychically. Afraid of her powers, Danny would run from the X-Mansion during a Danger Room training exercise, and be found by Ronnie sitting on a hill. Danny would reveal to Ronnie that when she was a child and her mutant powers first emerged, she foresaw the deaths of her parents, visualized as a horse and an eagle, clans they were each part of, slain by a large bear. A week later, her parents would leave for the mountains on a hunting trip and were never heard from again. Danny believes they had been killed by that same bear from her vision. Still learning to control her powers at Xavier's school, Danny would have a nightmare one night in her room, where she sees rain outside her window before being attacked by a shadow monster. She stabs it with her hunting knife, holstered on her headboard, and then sees images of all her friends and teammates dead, killed by their most primal fears and anguished memories. Before she is able to jump out of a hallway window and escape, she is grabbed by the monster. When she removes its face, it's revealed to be the same bear that killed her parents from her dreams. How terrifying! Danny wakes up, screaming, surrounded by Professor X and the other New Mutants. Xavier doesn't find anything wrong with her physically and tells her to go back to sleep. I don't know why he doesn't just use his powers to check on the psychological side of things. I'm sure Danny would give him permission to, but I feel like he might be wanting her to figure things out on her own regarding her powers. If he fights back every nightmare she ever has, her control over her powers, her illusions, will never improve. Anyways, once they all leave her room, Danny tries to go back to sleep. When she pulls out her knife again, she finds that there is blood on it, meaning the monster in her dreams isn't just a figment of her imagination. This has Nightmare on Elm Street written all over it, but realize this sequence in issue number 3 of New Mutants predates the original Nightmare by over a year. After a few of the early missions the New Mutants go on, Danny would experience a resurgence of nightmares involving her evil bear, most notably when a cloud transformed into it and threatened to end her life, just like it did her parents. Aw, how thoughtful. Things reach their pinnacle in the winter time, while Professor X is away on a business trip to Massachusetts, and the X-Men are away on various high-profile assignments, leaving the New Mutants at the X-Mansion all alone for several days. To prepare herself for an eventual confrontation with the demon bear in her nightmares, Danny would put herself through several danger room tests against bears, each harder than the last. Illyana would become worried about her and puzzled as to why bears have been her only choice of opponent. It would seem kind of odd, wouldn't it? Imagine Professor X wheeling into the danger room surrounded by hundreds of virtual bear carcasses. The fuck is going on here? Danny would explain everything to Illyana and tell her that she feels deep remorse over the deaths of her parents, believing it was her fault that the bear had killed them in the mountains, because it had really been after her all along. Having had enough of her torment, Danny goes out alone, armed with her bow and arrow, to face the evil spirit bear in the woods in the dead of winter. The image of it manifesting in front of her is one of the more memorable and striking in this storyline. Many natives respect the bear. They view it as a protector, a guardian. It symbolizes strength, courage, authority, and in some myths is depicted as a healer. So having a corrupted version of it, a grizzly bear, be the animal this mysterious evil is embodying to go after Danny with is quite apropos. It makes for a very imposing antagonist in this story. Anyways, using her mutant abilities, Danny draws upon the bear's deepest fear, which happens to be her, and creates a version of herself in spirit form to distract it, but with one swipe, the bear destroys it. Danny tries to deliver a killing blow to the bear, just like she had done against the virtual ones in the danger room, but it only seems to make the bear angrier. Danny fires another arrow into the bear's mouth, which appears to kill it, but as she walks over to it, proud of her victory, it springs back to life. Ronnie senses something wrong through the connection she shares with Danny, and after hearing screams, the New Mutants rush out into the woods to find Danny lying beside a large tree, bleeding out in the snow. Danny is rushed to Mid-County Medical Center and is operated on for several hours. She has suffered immense blood loss, has multiple compound fractures, lacerations, skull trauma, and a broken spine. Fuck. The rest of the New Mutants go with her to the hospital and stay the night with her, as a massive snowstorm snows them in, essentially trapping them there. Sam tells the group that Danny needs them. She has spoken about the spirit bear to each one of them at some point since meeting them, and he believes that it may in fact be real. How else could you explain the mauling she suffered and her recent behavior training against bears in the danger room? Sam had brought their superhero costumes with him, and the New Mutants all vow to protect their friend while she is being operated on. Through Ronnie's special connection with Danny, she learns that the demon bear is mortally scared of Danny because she possesses the power to destroy it. Officer Tom Corsi, member of the Westchester Police Force, had come to the hospital, escorting Danny there after the attack. While hitting on one of the nurses, Sharon Friedlander, they both hear a growling sound and are seemingly killed by the demon bear, who has come to the hospital to finish Danny off. The New Mutants hear the screams and investigate, finding blood on the floor. Illyana casts a spell called the Wards, which forms a protective barrier around the operating room, using a portion of her life force. The demon bear appears in the hallway and attacks Illyana and Sunspot. It's here where Illyana notices some sort of growth or protective armor manifest on parts of her body that get damaged, acting like a defense mechanism of some kind. It happens multiple times throughout the story, and she doesn't know what it is, still learning to understand her mutant powers. Illyana manages to weaken the demon bear with her soul sword, an extension of her sorceress abilities, causing it to vanish. Shortly afterwards, the power in the hospital is knocked out, either by the snowstorm or most likely the spirit bear. Showing the ability to teleport itself, the demon bear would first attack the operating room that Cannonball and Sunspot are defending, with the damage done to the ward spell also damaging Illyana. Then it would go after Magic, Wolfsbane, and Magma in the hospital's generator room, as they are trying to get the building's power back online. Eventually, the bear would teleport itself, the New Mutants, the alive but captured Officer Corsi and Nurse Friedlander, as well as Danny's operating room inside of Illyana's barrier spell, to another dimension, its domain. The mystical dimension the New Mutants find themselves in is called the Badlands, resembling a Virgin America, an idealized version of it that has been unspoiled by European influence. The demon bear would use its power to turn the bodies of Officer Corsi and Nurse Friedlander into demonic Native American warriors that can conjure weapons and abilities as needed, who begin attacking the heroes with bolts of red and black lightning. With the New Mutants distracted by its warriors, the demon bear proceeds to carve its way into the protective sphere containing the operating room, as if it were a beehive full of scrumptious honey. The Badlands dimension seems to be increasing Illyana's powers, but every spell she casts also weakens the bubble surrounding Danny. Remember, it's fueled by Illyana's life energy. To make matters worse, the demon bear is growing stronger with each hit it takes. The possessed Officer Corsi grabs Sunspot with a lasso and hurls him into the ground, beneath the dark shadow of the demon bear, which blocks out the sun and heavily weakens him. Sunspot is then grabbed by the demonic Nurse Friedlander before being saved by Ronnie, who shapeshifts into her werewolf form. The demon bear strikes down on Magma and begins corrupting her, attempting to transform her into another demonic Native American warrior. Illyana once again calls upon the power of her soul sword and uses it to cut the demon bear's paw. She then plunges her weapon into Magma to exorcise the evil from her. Impulsively, Cannonball attacks Illyana, having feelings for Magma, believing Illyana had killed her, which which upsets Magma when she comes to, pissed off at Sam for his actions. The demon bear heals itself by drawing from the energy of its dimension, and as it grows in power, dark and ominous clouds begin covering the Badlands. The evil spirit continues to break down the protective barrier surrounding the operating room, and with each strike, not only comes closer to opening it, but killing Ileana. Ronnie links her mind with Danny to try and find out why the bear had been so afraid of her. She finds the answer. They need to work as a team. Danny is the knowledge, and the rest of them are the power. The new mutants combine their abilities and attack the demon bear. As it flees, Ileana finishes it off with a final blow from her soul sword, splitting the evil spirit in two, and freeing Danny's parents, William and Peg Lone Star, who she had believed were long dead. The heroes then find themselves back in their own dimension, and Officer Corsi and Nurse Friedlander are released from the demon bear's control, though their bodies are not returned to their regular forms and instead have taken on the appearance of Native Americans. This transformation would remain in place because there had been a separate enchantment made on them on top of their possession by the demonic bear spirit. Moving forward within the Marvel Universe, Corsi and Friedlander would just look like Native Americans, even though they are not actual Native Americans. It was really weird. I can't make sense of it. Anywho, the New Mutants learn that Danny's surgery has been completed, but that she will remain paralyzed. Thankfully, Professor X contacts them psychically, and the Morlock healer would use his mutant abilities to heal Danny, and in time, she would have the strength to walk again. His services come into play because Storm had recently become leader of the Morlocks, after beating their former leader, Callisto, in trial combat, among the pages of the Uncanny X-Men number 170. Danny is reunited with her parents, and they explain that they had been enslaved by an evil force and transformed into the demon bear. They had been powerless to stop it from haunting her dreams all these years. When Danny asks them who or what was behind the magic, they say they don't know, and in-universe, within the comics themselves, this question has never been officially answered. The mystery behind the demon bear, what it actually was, is still out there. The New Mutants Demon Bear Saga is a short story arc only lasting 3 issues, but man, does it pack one hell of a punch. Its themes exude friendship, teamwork, and trust, with the heroes buckling down and risking their lives to protect one of their own from a ferocious monster. When the dust clears, these teenagers come out of the fight with an even stronger bond than they had going into it. I think their relationship with Ileana flourished the most. Ronnie and Sam have a lot of misgivings towards her throughout the story, even the issues leading up to it. They believe her uncontrolled mutant powers make her just as evil as the bear, but Ileana proves herself, earns their respect. I mean, she delivered the killing blow to end the demon bear. She was the one who essentially saved Danny from it. Without her and her soul sword, who knows what might have happened to Danny and the rest of the New Mutants for that matter. I think this storyline is damn near perfect when it comes to the writing, pacing, and the artwork, but if I were to nitpick for just a second, I do wish there would have been one more issue taking place in the hospital before everyone got teleported to the Badlands. I think there was an opportunity to really lean on the idea of this dark entity stalking the hospital in search of Danny. It would have felt like a slasher film, with the demon bear picking off people one by one, like more doctors and nurses that may have gotten in the way of it. You could have had the New Mutants one step behind the bear, have them experience a lot of creepy visuals, witness the aftermath of the attacks, some nice psychological horror for the reader. I can see why this story was eyed up to be adapted into a live-action film. That element of it would have been brilliant if it were R-rated. And the reason I bring up the idea of having some more of these hospital staff taken out is because a few of them seem like assholes. After Danny gets wheeled into the hospital, one of the nurses tells Ileana straight up that she shouldn't get her hopes up about Danny's survival. That's helpful. And then later, one of the surgeons working on Danny asks the other doctor if they should just let her die instead of continuing to operate, that it might be more merciful. What the fuck kind of thing is that to say? From a doctor? Keep it to yourself, man, you're under oath. Anyways, that does it for this review. I don't think there's anything else I want to say about the Demon Bear Saga, apart from the fact that it's good, better than good. I think it may be one of the more unsettling stories I've looked at on the channel for Halloween, and I suggest you read it sometime if you can. If you have read it before, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell icon for notifications, and become a producer over on patreon.com if you'd be so kind. I will see you all in the next one. Take care, stay safe, and always stay nerdy.